Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and good Shabbos. We are live from Huntington, kind of like Saturday Night Live, but it's Friday night from Huntington. It was a beautiful day today, kind of cloudy, but it was warm-ish, right? It was pleasant and calling for some rain, but you know, you need rain, better than snow. Which we had. We had snow this week. That's right. Woke up, it was Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and there was snow on the ground. And the hounds really enjoyed it. The blind one, Albert, had no idea what was going on. He got out and he just kind of danced around a little bit, having never experienced snow because he's only a few months old and can't see. So, but the big dogs, they really enjoyed it. And I wound up mopping for most of my day off, but that's okay. That's okay. Grateful to have the healthy dogs and the snow. It was very nice. It didn't last long, but it was nice. It was nice.
Long enough.
Was that?
Long enough.
Long enough. David said long enough. All right. Well, I didn't have to shovel it. So by time, it was time to shovel or anything, it was already pretty much on its way out. So, but today was a nice day, and hope you had a good week, and we're going to start. We're going to bench licht. We have Nancy tonight who's going to come up and bench licht for us. There'll be a reading on page 3, and then the bracha on page 2, for those who are following along.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel to kindle light. So may we in our day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvoso v'tzivanu b'havner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. All right, let's continue welcoming Shabbat, putting the work week behind us and easing our way into Shabbat. The rabbis in Sfat, the mystical city in the north, in the Galil, felt that you can't really just run and drop everything and move into Shabbat. You have to kind of ease your way in. You have to let go of the work week and embrace the beauty that is Shabbat. So they gave us Kabbalat Shabbat, a number of psalms and songs and readings. And so let's read responsively on page 6, the second group of paragraphs. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May welcome all who have cared some burden, nice to express souls.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May the synagogue be all the wicked, doorway to the richer, and meaningful life.
Let's continue. We'll continue easing our way in with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi from Shlomo Alkabetz, one of the great mystics from Sfat, a song of 9 verses welcoming the Shabbos bride. So top of page 20, Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Ishmi'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litchila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Ki mekor ha'bracha merosh mikedem nehesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nikabela Mikdash melech ir melucha Kumitzei mitoch hafecha Rav lahak shevet b'yemecha bacha V'hu yachamol alaychem la Lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nikabela Itna ari me'afar kumi, livshi bigdei tifartei chami, al yad ben ishai beit halachmi, korva el nafshi gehala, lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, hitorari, Ki va orech kumi uri shir daberi Kvod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lo tevoshi v'lo tikol mi Mahatish tochachi umatemi Bach yechesu aniyehe ami v'nivneta ir al tila lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela v'hayu l'shimsa shohosayich v'rachaku kol mevalayich yasis alayich Elohayich, ki himsos chatan al kala, lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, in usmol tifrotzi, v'et Adonai taritzi, al yadish ben partzi, V'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela Boi b'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uvtzoham tochem uneam segula Boi chala Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. All right, we're going to turn to page 22, the Psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 92. The rabbis in Sfat instituted a series of 7 psalms, one for each day of the week, and they take them mostly out of the 90s, the chapters 92 up through 99. With one renegade psalm, Psalm 27. But each psalm for a specific day, and Psalm 92 is actually the psalm for Shabbat. So we'll read the outdented paragraph together, and then we'll go back up to the Hebrew for Tzaddik Katamar. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzaddik katamar yifrach. Ke'erez balvanon yiskeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu O Jinuvun Beseva, Deshenim Verananim Yihiyu Lehagid, Ki Ashar Adonai Tsuri Velo Aflatabo. And one last song for Kabbalat Shabbat, a song that the rabbis of the Gemara gave us the idea that on Shabbat, two angels come to greet us and to be with us on Shabbat. On Shabbat, everything is doubled. That's why we have two chalot. That's why we have two candles. That's why all sorts of things are doubled. The mystics tell us we get a neshama yetera, we get an extra soul that comes and hangs out with us on Shabbat, and two angels from on high come to spend Shabbat with us as well. So page 24, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashari, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as Kabbalat Shabbat is in its form a complete service, we end with Mourner's Kaddish, this part of the Friday evening service, page 294 for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemech rabbah, Be'alma divrach hiruteh, Ve'amlik malchuteh, Be'chayechon v'yomechon, Uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei almaya. Yitparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Page 164, we're going to begin the evening service, Arvit l'Shabbat, the evening service for Shabbat, with the formal call to prayer, Baruch Hu. Page 146. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 147, let's read responsively in the English. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Ama'ariv Aravim. The second bracha, the second blessing before the Shema, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadita Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu B'shochbeinu uvkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki heim chayenu v'yorech yameinu v'yorech yameinu uvahem nehege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu li'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu latotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'hisharecha Leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Page 151, let's read responsively in the English. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There's evil enough to break the heart, and there's good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
For ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence with these so we celebrate His power that makes us great.
Up page 152, Michamocha. Michamocha bailim Adonai. Michamocha nedar bakodesh. Nohora tehilot. Osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, ze'li anu v'amruhu, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, u'ga'alo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. On the next page, 153, Hashkivenu. First two verses and then together in English. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei suchat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 154, verses from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus, reminding us of the importance of Shabbat to us as Jews. And it's really not Shabbat without it. Vishamru, top of 154. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti li'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. We are at the center prayer, the prayer that is in all of our services, the Amidah, and we're going to chant 155, 156, and 157 together, and then we'll go silently for a bit as you can finish the prayer, either in the Hebrew or the English, or offer up your own personal meditation at this time. But we're going to begin together on page 155. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Ve'Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Ma'anora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh hakol, ve'zocher chasdei avot le'imahot, u'mevi goel lifnei b'neihem, leman shemo b'ahava, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham, v'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim atarav lahoshia, mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, mechaltel chayim bechesed,
Mechaye Meitim Berachamim Rabbi. Somech Noflim Verofech Cholim. Umatir Asurim. Umechayem Emunato Lishenei Afar. Michamocha Bal Gevurot. Umidom Melach. Melech Meimid Umechayeh Umatzliach Yeshua Beneman Atala Chayo Meitim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh Ametim.
If you're completing your Amidah, please take your time and continue and finish on your own. We're going to jump to page 160 and read this paragraph together in English. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. All right, we're going to turn to page 163. It says Hoda'ah in the Hebrew on the right-hand side of the page. Hoda'ah is thanksgiving. And in our tradition, thanksgiving starts with Hakarat HaTov, recognizing the good. Hakarat comes from the word to recognize. So if you're in the street and you recognize somebody, you say, Ani makir ota, I recognize her, right? And Hakarat HaTov is to recognize the good, right? And the rabbis teach us there is good in everything. Even in things that might not seem so good, there can be good found if you look deeply enough. And I mean, that's a mystical teaching, and I don't always agree with the rabbis, but find the good in life. Today, it was cloudy, but it was warm. Wednesday, it snowed, or Tuesday, it snowed. I forget which day, but it didn't last. And it could be anything. I mean, I am very grateful that a guy named Peter Jackson exists, and he put together a three-part documentary on the Beatles, Let It Be album. And I'm just tickled by that. And because I'm a big Beatles fan, so I am very grateful that this world has Peter Jackson. And the Beatles. And so there you go. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be anything, but recognize the good. Hakarat HaTov. Page 163 at the top. Let's read responsively. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise is source of life.
All right, we're going to close out, as we always do, with a prayer for peace. In the evening, it is Shalom Rav, top of page 164. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov benecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol heit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. All right, we're going to jump ahead to page 253, the Mishaberach, found in the middle of the page. 253 in the middle. Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor habracha Lahimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We're going to turn to the prayers for our community on pages 258 and 259. And David, would you lead us in the prayer for the congregation?
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us. Love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us to be blessed with satisfaction. And may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding. May our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Tom, for our country.
Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness.
Thank you. Prayers for Israel on 259. Let's read together. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, lishlayu ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael, V'goalo, Ba'arech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagein Aleha B'Yevrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Oracha V'Amitecha L'Rosheha, Sareha V'Yowetzeha, B'Tachneim Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, V'Natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'Simchat Olam Liyoshveha, V'Nomar. Amen. Suzanne, would you lead the English, please?
O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shielded beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there.
Amen. Thank you. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. This week, we continue the Joseph saga, right? We're I think we're 4 weeks into it. As I said, it's the longest sustained story in the book of Genesis, and I actually think it is more complete than the story of Moses. But that's for a class, right? So just. But last time we left off, Joseph was sending his brothers back to their father without Benjamin, and there was some drama there. And now Judah approaches Yosef, and he's going to confront him. He's going to stand up to Joseph, and he tells Joseph that if they have to return to their father without Benjamin, it will kill him. And he's being serious. I mean, he already thinks he's lost Joseph, and to take Benjamin away from him would really, I think, kill the old man. I really think so. So Yehuda offers himself in place of his youngest brother. Now, this is a remarkable turn of events, because when dealing with their previous younger brother, Yehuda and all of them just wanted to get rid of him. So Yehuda steps up and says, hey, take me. I've learned my lesson. I've learned. I had that whole incident with Tamar, and I'm a changed man. And so when Yosef sees this, when he sees Yehuda standing before him, pleading on behalf of Benjamin, he can't take it anymore. He's tremendously moved by it. So moved that he sends his servants out of the room, and he declares to his brothers, I am Joseph. And he adds, is my father alive? Right? I mean, this is a big moment in the Torah. This is a Hollywood moment, right? I mean, Judah just gives this impassioned plea, and Yosef sends everybody out, and then he comes out to his brothers. I am Joseph. Now, I always wondered why they didn't recognize him, but he recognized them. But that's, again, another discussion. And he weeps so loud that the Torah tells us that they hear it throughout the house in which he lives. And then the people who heard the weeping, they go out and tell everybody that Joseph and his brothers have been reunited. So the brothers are stunned, to say the least, and afraid, because they realize now that the tables have turned on them, that Yosef is no longer the little brat that they threw in a pit. He is second in command in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh, and wields a lot of power. But Yosef looks at them and says, don't worry. Go back. Go and bring my family to Egypt. Go and get the old man and bring him. And you all come down here and stay with us, and we'll get through this famine. Pharaoh is pleased that Yosef has his brothers and potentially will bring his entire family to Mitzrayim, and he offers them the best land. The brothers report back to Jacob. They go back and they say, you know what? Remember that story that we told you about Joseph being torn by a wild beast? Well, yeah, that wasn't true. We lied. He's alive, and he's in Egypt, and he's expecting us. And so Jacob, obviously stunned, but says, yes, we're going. And on his way, he encounters God in Beersheba, a place of great import to our patriarchs and matriarchs. And God promises to be with him in Egypt. And once again, promises that his people, Jacob's people, will become a great nation. When his brothers and his father get there, Joseph explains to them that the Egyptians hate shepherds. Well, I mean, that's what they were, right? But the Egyptians had this passion. They hated shepherds. But he's arranged for them to live in the land of Goshen, right? So they're not going to be in the main cities. They're not going to be right in the thick of Egypt. They're going to be out in the country. And so they're going to be okay out there because they're going to be, they're shepherds. But the Egyptians don't want to really have to deal with them. So Joseph cares for them. And they increase their wealth, and they increase their numbers. This is what we call in the English lit biz foreshadowing, because this is going to have some consequences down the road. The famine increases, and the people are without money. And Joseph comes up with a plan. Now, people are split on this plan. Classic commentators think it's brilliant. Modern commentators think it smacks a little bit of fascism. But, I'll let you all figure that out. Joseph says, hey, it's okay if you don't have money. You can trade your livestock for food. Well, of course, people are going to do that. And then when they're all out of livestock to trade, Joseph says, don't worry. You could trade your land for food. And the people, do that. And then at the very end, when the people have no more land and they have no more livestock of their own, Joseph says, listen, everybody is going to pay Pharaoh 1/5 of their produce every harvest, and you can keep the rest for your family. And that's where the parsha ends. All right, so with Yosef, once again, saving Egypt, but at an interesting cost to the people. And that's your Torah in a nutshell. Torah portion in a nutshell, Vayigash. All right, last week was supposed to be Ask the Rabbi, but it was Hanukkah. And since we had 2 Shabbatot in and around Hanukkah, I talked about Hanukkah last week. But this week, I dipped into my email and found somebody asked a question about the conversion in Judaism. All right, it's a subject that everybody thinks they know everything about, but it's not as cut and dried as a lot of people might think. It's not really well understood because there are a lot of misconceptions. There are a lot of ideas out there, and so I'm going to try and clear up some of that tonight. It's often said that Judaism is opposed to people joining us, right? To people becoming Jews, and that is not the case. That is categorically not the case. We welcome people, but depending on what spectrum of Judaism you are, it's either easy or less easy. In the more liberal, and by that I mean the conservative, reform, and reconstructionist movements, it's fairly easy to start the process. It's not always easy to complete the process, but in the Orthodox world, it's a lot more difficult to initiate the process. But once you do, a lot of people help you out, and they just help you out, right? Because it's a long conversion process in the Orthodox world. In the biblical period, believe it or not, there wasn't the idea of conversion the way we understand it. There was no idea of a religious conversion. Right now, when somebody becomes Jewish, they accept all of the tenets of Judaism, and it's all about the religion for the most part. But in biblical times, there was no separation between religion and nationality. If you were an Israelite, you were of the religion of the Israelite, and that would be Judaism, or whatever idea of Judaism existed at the time. If you were a Phoenician, there were Phoenician religions that were unique to the Phoenicians and to the Canaanites and to the Jebusites and the Hivites and all the ites that lived in the land of Canaan. They all had their own religions, and they were tied into their peoplehood. So when you talk about conversion in the Bible, and you really don't in the Torah, and you really don't, it was basically people who were either assimilated into the tribes, either through marriage or through just hanging around. Right, and that led to for the people who were just hanging around and assimilated in, they promised to not worship idols. They promised not to blaspheme, and they promised not to worship any other gods. And that was about it. They didn't necessarily become Israelites or whatever our early tribes were, but they were part of the background. And so as long as they didn't make waves, they were in. They were in. A little bit later, this becomes, it's actually mentioned in the Torah, there becomes two categories of these people. The word that they use is ger, which means stranger, someone who is from the outside. Also, they use the word nochri, and nochri becomes the word for Christian later on. But right now, they're ger. And we had what was called the ger toshav, and that was the resident alien. He was the one who went before the tribal leaders and said, look, I like you guys. I like what you do. I want to hang out. I want to move when you move. I want to be part of the community, but I'm not into this circumcision. I'm not into Shabbos. I'm not into that. But I won't worship any gods. I won't worship any gods, other gods. I won't do idol worship, and I won't say nasty things about your God. So can I stay? And then, okay, so that person abided by, the ethics, but didn't do the rituals. Then you had what was called the ger tzedek, the righteous stranger. And they followed the rituals and practices. So they actually assimilated into the core community. And that was it in the Bible, right? There was no conversion process. If you were a woman and you married into an Israelite tribe, you became part of that religion. You didn't hold on to your religion. So there was nothing formal. After the first exile, right, and that was the case all the way through, the biblical period. The most famous Jew by choice in the Bible is Ruth. Ruth. And how did she become Jewish? She said, where you go, I will worship your God I will worship, all of that. And that was what brought her in. And then she marries Boaz, and she's in. All right. So after the first exile, however, when we no longer had our own land, there was a kind of a split in the idea of Judaism. And there were two ideas that came out of that. One was universalism, in which Judaism has something to teach everybody. And it's not just tied to the land, because we weren't in the land. And it's not just tied to a particular people, because once we go into exile, not everybody goes to the same place. So Judaism becomes more of a universalist, becomes more universalist thinking. But there was also a strain of particularism, that there were a number of Jewish thinkers and rabbis in the early Talmudic period who said, no. This isn't for anybody but us. And you really can't become part of an us if you're not born into it. And this idea is exemplified in the Gemara, and my Sunday morning people will remember this, between Hillel and Shammai. Hillel was more of a universalist, and Shammai was more of a particularist. And so, and then that carried on. Tom?
We're taught that not only was the throng at Sinai, but every Jew who would ever be. Are converts included in that? The rabbis talk about that.
Some of the rabbis will talk about that and say yes, because every Jewish soul was there. And sometimes Jewish souls wind up in non-Jewish bodies, and that's what leads people to want to join Judaism. So they would be included there too. Mm-hmm. After the second destruction, there was a decline in people becoming Jews. First of all, we had no sovereignty. And second of all, we had no land. So again, this idea of something formal coming up and, these are the laws, doesn't happen. However, in the time of the Talmud, and that's between the 2nd century and the 7th century, things start to get crystallized. But there's a problem. We're not the only religion on the block. And Christianity, especially in the Middle Ages, said conversion, not so much. Not so much. It's either our religion, because our religion is the true religion. And if we catch you converting people, not only are we going to kill you, we're going to kill the convert as well. And so we kind of, as a people, went inside and were a little bit leery of converts, because there are cases, and you can read about them in history, of people saying that they wanted to become Jews only to go and then report back to the authorities, and entire communities got wiped out because they were breaking the law. Now, in the modern period, and that we could call that anywhere from 1600 forward or 1700 forward, things really changed. Now we have, and I'm not to say that there weren't rules before in the Middle Ages, but now we start to have rules, and the rules kind of get codified. And now in the modern period, while we don't actively proselytize, right, you won't see Jews on the street corner handing out tractates and saying, hey, join us. But if people want to join us, we don't necessarily say no. But the first thing we do is there's a question that gets developed in the Talmudic period that becomes the first question a rabbi will ask a potential convert. Does anybody know that question? Why? Why do you want to join us? We're persecuted. People don't like us because of who we are. Why do you want to join us? What is it about us? Right? And the answer is, it has to be a well thought out answer, right? I like challah. No, it's not a good enough answer. I'm getting married in 2 weeks. Not a good answer, right? My favorite movie is The 10 Commandments. Again, nice, good. What's wrong with Fiddler on the Roof, right? But that's the question that gets asked, and that's the question that opens the discussion. And so that's really the opening salvo, as it were, for people who would like to join Judaism. And out of that question, a process develops. So the process is, to a greater or lesser extent, the same in all of the branches of Judaism. And I say to a greater or lesser extent because there's a lot of wiggle room in some things and less wiggle room, and your local rabbi is the one who sets the standard. There's a period of study. Now, that period of study, depending on who your rabbi is and your knowledge coming in, can last anywhere from several months to, in the cases of almost all Orthodox conversions, 5 years. Right? It's a process. And the reason it's a long process is that we have, at minimum, 3,500 years of tradition. And while no Jew alive knows it all, you got to know something. So there's the period of study. After that period of study, the rabbi will take the potential convert to the mikvah, and there'll be a ceremony at the mikvah. Now, if you're a male and you're converting, there's one stop before the mikvah, and that would be a brit milah. That would be circumcision. If you're not circumcised, I know in the Orthodox tradition and the conservative tradition, that is a deal breaker. If you're not circumcised and you don't want to be circumcised, that's a deal breaker. The Reformed tradition, I've heard from various rabbis, various opinions, and so I've heard it's a deal breaker, and I heard, well, that's an old ritual, and we're not so worried about it anymore. Again, your local rabbi is the determiner there. But if you are already circumcised, if you had a milah at birth, we need to fix the brit. And so what will happen is you'll have what's called hatafat dam brit. A drop of blood is drawn from where from the orlah, where the foreskin used to be, and that counts. And there will be some blessings, and then you're off to the mikvah. After the mikvah, you go before what's called a beit din, which is 3 rabbis or 3 knowledgeable people from your community if your community doesn't have 3 rabbis, and you get a bit of an oral exam. They're going to ask you the question why. They're going to ask you any number of questions. And again, depending on the community, some of the questions might be very specific, might be very technical, and other ones might be less so. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite Jewish food? Stuff like that. And then after the Beit Din, then that's it. You get a certificate. You get a certificate. Here, you're a Jew. You get a little certificate, and you are now a full-fledged member of the community. Now, there was a period where, conversion was accepted across the board, but not so much anymore. And so if you're interested, your rabbi will explain what the pitfalls of one type of conversion versus another type are. For me, the period of study is at least a year, 1 calendar year, an entire cycle of holidays. And you have to come to synagogue, and you have to be part of the community. And then all the other learning is, we work on that. And everybody asks, do you have to learn Hebrew? The answer is yes, but you don't have to learn it to speak it. You have to learn it to be able to read it. So, but, Judaism welcomes people who don't want to become members of the Jewish community, but want to, hang out with us. And, nowhere in our tradition does it say you have to be Jewish to be considered a good person. Nowhere does it say that only Jews get into the world to come, whatever that may be. And nowhere in Judaism, except in some places, that does it say that Jews are spiritually superior to anyone. So I hope that answers the question to the person who submitted it. I hope you all learned a little something new today. And good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom. All right, it is Kiddush time. Kiddush. Mara, you going to get up and, yes, there he is. He's already up. He's on his way. And we are ready for Kiddush. Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Voker, Yom HaShishi, Vayechulu HaShamayim V'Haaretz, V'chol Tzivam, Vayechal Elohim, Bayom HaShvi, Melachto Asher Asa, Vayishbot Bayom HaShvi, Mikol Melachto Asher Asa, Vayevarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi, Vayikadesh Oto, Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto Asher Bara Elohim La'asot. Savri Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Borei Peri Hagafen. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron lemaaseh bereshit ihu yom techila lamikrae kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta Yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. All right, we'll begin to close out our services with Aleinu, page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'atei gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kagoye haratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot hadama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem V'gor aleinu kechol hamonam אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבתה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. This week, we continue to observe Shloshim for Eric Pyburn, Ben Dolan. This week, we observe the following yahrzeits: Marie Levinson Bachman, Frida Kagan's sister; Simon D. Cantor, Pauline Kaplan's grandfather; Adele Margulis Bro, wife of Adolf, mother of Robert; Phyllis Estelle Boring, Jenny Bro's mother; Ria Silberta, relative of Jack Hyman; Harry Silverberg, Lynn Mayer's maternal grandfather; Frederick J. Glazer, Hoyt's father; Saul Hyman, Jack Hyman's uncle; Lena Klausner, Paul Mayer's maternal grandmother; Ruth Perry, Loretta Levine's mother; Robert Simons, Sharon's husband, father of Spencer, Vicky, and Gwen; Dorothy Slifkin, Nancy Billig's mother; Saul Schiff, Rena Stern's uncle; Beatrice Miller, Randy's mother; Rhoda Rosenberg, Michael's mother; Stephen Jablow, father of Samantha Mallinger, Shayna Geffen, and Rachel Jablow. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us always, and may they all rest in peace.
It's my mother's. Marion Preston.
Marion Preston. Why is she not on? Sorry. Page 294, Mourner's Kaddish, mourners and those observing Yartzeit. Yitkadal, Yikadash, Shmei Rabbah, Bialma Divrach, Hirute, Viamlik Machute, Bechayechon, Viomechon, Uvchaye, Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Vizman, Kari, Vimru, Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah, Mevorach, Leolam, Lamea Maya. Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitkar, Vitramam, Vitnase, Vietadar, Vitalev, Vietalal, Shmei Dekucha, Brichu, Leila, Minkol, Birchata, Bishirata, Tush Bachata, Venechamata, Da'amiram, Bialma, Vimru, Amen. Yehe Shlama, Rabba, Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, Bial Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Bimrumav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. All right, friends, we're going to get ready to close out with Adon Olam, but just first a couple of quick announcements. Services tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Sunday morning at 9 a.m. No adult ed this week. We've had a bunch leading up to Hanukkah and through Hanukkah, so we're going to take a couple of weeks off. But Monday night, we will be back with Genesis Deep Dive. Tuesday night, there's a Board of Trustees meeting here at the synagogue if you are a member of the Board of Trustees. Wednesday night, the Best Little Yiddish Choir anywhere, so come get your Yiddish on. And that's led by Scott and Tam, and that'll be on Zoom. And I think that's it. And then next week we'll be back for just another Shabbos, right? Nothing big happening in the Jewish world, at least on the ritual calendar, until Tu B'Shvat, and that's not even a Shabbos holiday. Nothing really big until Purim, and then a month later, Pesach. So, but there's enough going on. So, you can study, you can sing, and you can, be part of our community. And we are open. There are actual people here tonight, more people than I've seen here since I got here, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. And I'm glad that each and every one of them are here tonight. All right, let's close out with Adon Olam, page 321. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra v'acharei kichlot hakol levado imloch nohra Vehu haya, vehu hove, vehu yeh b'tifagra, vehu echad v'ein sheni, laham shelo lahachbira, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, vehu eli, v'chai goali, v'tzur hevli b'yetzara, Vehu nisi umanosli menat kosi biomekra biahado avkid ruchi viedishan viahira vim ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. All right, before we sign off, let's see who is out there saying hello through the interwebs. Kathleen Judd, I know that person. Shabbat shalom to all. Miss everyone since we are done celebrating Hanukkah. Have a nice weekend and stay safe. From Rabbi's mom and Cliff. Thanks, Mom. Jenny Bro, Shabbat shalom. Hope everyone had a lovely Hanukkah. Thank you, Jenny. I did, and I'm sure a lot of others did. Melanie Samuels from the holy city of Brooklyn. Good Shabbos to all. Hope everyone had a great Hanukkah. And at least we still have lovely fall weather. Best from Brooklyn. Well, thank you, Melanie. Same to you. ML and Herman Glazer. Good Shabbat to all. Thank you, ML and Herman. Everybody have a great Shabbat. Enjoy the Shabbat. Be careful out there, and we'll see you soon.